How's it going? Today we're going to take a look at Vikings Fields of Conquest, Kingdoms of England 2, and it's the second game in a series of 3 games. I believe this one came out in 1993. Now, I noticed it because I quite like the cover art on the front of the big box. But unfortunately, that cover art is doing an awful lot of heavy lifting. The game it's not bad, but it's not great either. And that goes for the other 2 games in the series as well. Anyway, when you launch up the game, you get thrown into this screen here. You can either go against computers or you can hot seat with your friends. I'm just going to hit continue here. Now, when I was looking for videos about this game on YouTube, and I couldn't find any that gave a tutorial. So I think what I'll do is I'll go through the basics of the game, and then if anybody stumbles across this video in the future and they want to play the game, they won't have to read the entire manual like I did. Now, there's copyright protection for the game, which I believe has been removed from my version, so I can just hit enter. But we'd open up the manual. And the manual has hundreds of these provinces, and you need to match up the shape, and you type in the name of the province. Okay, so you can randomize your start, or you can select it yourself. I'm going to select it myself. Now, for 1993, this campaign map is pretty large. I think there's 200 provinces here, not including the ocean tiles, which has got to be getting on to a similar size to Thrones of Britannia. Now, you get different resources from different tiles. So woodlands give you wood. The mountains, I believe, give you stone. And you can also find ores in the mountains as well, which is another mechanic. When you place down your castle, you get influence in all the regions around it. So you probably want to use that to your advantage. So if we place a castle, and you want to get a mix of sort of green flat land and mountains. So this would probably be a good place to start. The AI place down their castles as well. Now, you might have noticed that there's absolutely no sound in the game. And that's probably my first really big bugbear with it, is that there is no soundtrack. There's no sound effects. There's one little sound effect when you click certain buttons. Now, at the end of each month, you're going to get this sort of summary of what's going on in your kingdom. You've got your treasury, you've got tax income, which is related to like how many provinces you've got, and then you've got your resources here. You've got wood, stone, iron, your population, how much it's grown, how many people died, and how many armies you've got. The flotillas are basically armies but made of ships. If you've got a food shortage, and then how much food you've got stockpiled. And if we click, that'll disappear. So when a turn starts, you go into your sort of food and harvesting management mode. You can't click on any of these buttons up here yet. And you can just hover over your provinces. So an equals sign, it means that the food situation in that county is stable. You don't need to do anything. An upward arrow means that you're producing more food than you need in that county. And so you're getting a surplus. So any surplus goes into your sort of stockpile. And a downward arrow would mean that you're not producing enough food, and if you don't do something about that, then you will end up with more deaths in that county. So we can click on one here, and it will say you'll get either one field not in use yet, or all fields are in use, or not enough food is being produced. So up here it will tell you for the current turn you've got enough, and harvest here is for the next month. So you're going to have enough in the next month as well. If all your fields are being used, you can buy more fields by clicking this button here. So you could put 2 into, you could buy 2 more fields if you wanted to. We don't need to. And we've got one field not in use yet, and what that means is we just don't have enough people yet to be working on that field, and that'll take care of itself eventually. If all of your fields are being worked and you still don't have enough food, you can move food here using this button from your sort of national stockpile. So any surplus you have goes into your national stockpile. That's indicated by these bars here. So you've got food. I think this green one is wood. The gold, the third one is your treasury, and I believe the fourth one is iron. The colours, I don't really know why they're coloured the way they are. It doesn't make that much sense, but it is what it is. I think possibly yellow is gold, orange I know is iron, and maybe the green is for trees, and the red for some reason is food. We can also see that this province here produces stone. We can check this one here. That's stone as well. This one produces 6 wood every month. Nothing there. This one produces 3 stone. This one produces nothing as well. So when we're done sort of managing our food, we can click continue. And now we've got more options open to us. So you've got move your armies around and manage your armies. We've got 4 armies here at the moment. Oh, you can also hover over your counties and it'll tell you how much tax each one's making you. This button here, when it's selected, lets you manage a county. And this button here lets you search for ores in counties that have mountains in them or mountainous terrain. So we can click this and we go into sort of ore deposit search mode. You can search a county up to 4 times to find ores. If you don't find any ores after searching it 4 times, there will never be any ores in that county, so there's no point in trying to search it again. Hovering over it will tell you that. There'll be a big X there. If you do find ore in a county, it's going to either be gold, silver, or iron. So the iron will go into your national stockpile, and gold and silver will be automatically be turned into gold for you to spend. The mines will eventually run out, but all you have to do is search the county again. It will find another mine and it will be random. Maybe you'll get the same mine, another gold mine, or maybe it'll be different. Maybe if you had gold, it will then be silver and then it'll be iron. So if we just click here, we can do a search. It's going to cost 5 gold. It's telling us that it's our first search out of 4. But straight away, we found a gold deposit and it's going to yield us 4 units per month. So that's pretty good. And when we hover over it now, it says gold. We'll try this one here. Unfortunately, your search failed to discover an ore deposit. Okay, and no ore yet, and we can't search it again this month. It says, look, you've already searched, your miners have already searched it this turn. We're going to have to wait. And we can probably search here as well. Failed. And I don't know, yeah, and we can search here. And it failed again. But you can do that each turn. You end your turn by clicking Next King down here. And if you want to get an overview of the map, almost sort of like a political map in like a Total War game, you click this. Actually, you need to get rid of that first. And then we get an overview of, it's like a political map. We can see where all the other players are. Now, I believe the first game was just this map of the United Kingdom. And what this second game has added is just these 2 little land masses up here. And it's added a Viking faction in the game. And the Viking faction works ever so slightly different. It doesn't earn taxes through owning provinces. I think it earns money through raiding or taking over provinces, I think. That's the only difference between the first 2 games. And I think the reason why they did that was the first game came out in 1992. This came out in 1993. And it suspiciously came out not long after a very popular game called The Lost Vikings. And I suspect this was just trying to capitalize on that game's success, because this game really doesn't have that much to do with Vikings at all. And the third game in the series, which came out a year later, so 1994, it's the exact same game, but it's a map of Germany, and they added in some more sound effects and a little bit of music, which was quite nice. So the German version is probably the best version to play, but for 1994, at least in my opinion, there were much better strategy games that you could play. I mean, I think Lords of the Realm 1 came out in 1994, and I think it does a much more interesting job of a similar type of game. The big appeal of these games, I guess, is just the sheer number of provinces there are. I don't know of many sort of DOS or Amiga strategy games from 1992, 93 that have just this much land you can take over. But unfortunately, taking over just isn't that interesting. So anyway, let's manage our counties. So each turn, your counties are going to have an increase in population, and some of those population are going to be able to be recruited. So you can see that this turn we've got new here 2. That means that we can hire 2 new men here this turn. If we don't hire them, they don't carry on over to the next turn. So we will probably only have 2 the next month as well. So you probably want to hire them if you want to build up your army. So if we click this button here, we can hire swordsmen, archers, crossbowmen, and pikemen here. There are more units than that, but the other ones are only able to be recruited at a castle. So let's just recruit some swordsmen. We can get 2. Hit continue. And you can see that they've gone into our patrol. The patrol is really just a garrison of men in this county. And they will stay here until we put them in an army, which I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. We could build a castle here. We click this button here. Now, there's a number of different levels to a castle. So the very first one is simply clearing the land. And the next one, I think, is a watchtower. After that, it's a small keep. And it goes up and up and up until you build the largest castle in the game. There might be 8 stages, and each one gets more expensive. The castles are harder to take, so the enemy would need a much larger army to take the castle. They also let you recruit more men, and they give you a greater variety of troops that you can recruit. They might also increase the tax income. But anyway, we won't improve that. We'll just click away. Oh, where was I looking? Where was we? Yeah, it was here. Yeah, so that button there. Now, if we were near the sea, and I don't... Yeah, we've got one over here. We would have an option to build a port. So a port is what would let us build flotillas of ships, and the ships would let us move armies across the ocean. So we could move armies across water tiles that way. So we'll come out of that. So let's manage an army. Actually, I will show you the recruitment at our main stronghold here. So you can see where it says new here, it's unlimited. So we're only really limited here by the amount of gold we can spend. So if we go to raise some troops here, you can see we've got a lot more that we can hire. And we can build catapults, champions, mounted knights, and knights. The manual does a pretty good job of explaining what the difference is between these units. So archers and crossbowmen won't get involved in frontline fighting unless your other frontline units are all killed. So they will sort of do sort of passive damage from the back line. Pikemen are much better in defense than they are attack, and so if you are attacking an enemy, and I will show you what the battle screen looks like soon, you probably want to call your pikemen out of the battle, which is something you can do. But if you're defending, then you would leave them in. The foot knights are about 50% stronger than the swordsmen. The mounted knights are about 50% stronger than the foot knights. And the champion is about 100% better than the mounted knight. And that's what the manual says. So that gives you an idea of the relative strength of the different units. And you can see the cost of them here. Now, I don't think they cost you an income to maintain. So it's just the cost to recruit them. And you've got a catapult here, and you would need a catapult to siege castles. Let's hire a mix here. We'll get 10 swordsmen. Let's get 10 archers. We'll mix it up with crossbowmen. Now, crossbowmen differ. They can fire... I think they fire slower than archers, but they have a higher accuracy rating. Let's hire 3 knights. I'll get 1 mounted knight, and we'll even get a champion. Now, all of those men are just sat in our garrison. This is where we could also raise a new army. Raising a new army costs, I believe, 30 gold, a certain number of men, and possibly some iron. We're not going to do that because we've already got 4 armies. So if we click this button here, we can manage our armies. We click where they are, which is where these standards are. Let's pick our first army. Now, each army has got 15 days worth of movement that it can carry out. Movement depends on whether you're in an enemy territory or a friendly territory and the type of terrain you're moving through. So moving through mountains takes a lot more days than moving through sort of flat flat terrain or woods. Let's select our first army, and it's pretty simple. We've got march, we've got force march, which will reduce the number of days it takes to move through counties, but we will become fatigued. And then to get rid of fatigue, we need to make camp and rest, which uses up days. We can click army status here, which will tell us what's in the army. We've only got swordsman and a champion at the moment. And then if we click exchange troops, we can either exchange with another army that's in this county, or we can exchange with the garrison. And here we have the garrison that we just hired. And we're going to put them all into the army here. And we will move this army up to attack white. There we go. It's got quite a nice little army going there. Continue. Then right click to get rid of that. Now we're going to march it. And it will give you arrows. So green arrows mean that you're moving into a friendly territory. And you can hover over and it's going to tell you how many days it's going to take to move into that territory. So we've got 14 days remaining. We used up a day to recruit some men into our army. So we'll click this up. We'll move into this county here by clicking this arrow. We go ahead and we move in. We've got 9 days left. We could move into there, or we could move into here. Now, if we move into here, we're going to meet some resistance probably from the AI's peasants. Okay, so we got 1 day left. It stops us here. We can hit continue. Now, this attack will be carried out when we hit next king. It will be carried out at the start of our next turn, or I believe we can click in the county to initiate the battle. We might not have enough days left on that army to start the battle. We did. Okay. So we're going to resolve. Now, the next screen, it might go, because there's probably not going to be many troops in that county defending it, the battle will probably take, it will resolve very quickly. So, okay, not too quickly. So you see we've got 54 men here. They got 17, and it's slowly ticking down. If I wanted to call men out of the battle, so I could click this button, and then they no longer take part in the battle, which is what you would want to do with your pikemen if you were attacking. Or maybe you were losing lots of your frontline units and you wanted to call your crossbowmen and your archers out. I guess there are various different reasons why you would want to do that. We won. It wasn't too difficult. If we were losing quite badly, because you don't know how many enemy units are in a county before you attack it, we could always hit retreat. Now, there's 2 buttons here, and this is sort of, even though we're against the AI, the buttons are here for another human player to be able to enact their orders. So these numbers here, 7418 those are buttons that, those are the numpad buttons that another human could press to recall their units from a fight if you were sat at the computer together playing it. That's why those buttons are there. So we hit continue and we'll get a little breakdown of what just happened. So 2 of my swordsmen were wounded and 2 of them died permanently. I'm not sure how long it takes the wounded soldiers to come back. It might even be instant. And we can see that we killed 12, we wounded 7, and the defender retreated. So they've got 7 guys remaining. We click again, and there we go. We've taken the county. That, pretty much in a nutshell, is the entire game. The only thing I haven't shown is sieges, but they take place pretty much the exact same way. You just need catapults. Over a number of turns, you destroy a hole in the wall, and once there's a hole in the wall, the battle takes place just as you've witnessed. So that is pretty much it. That is Vikings Field of Conquest. I don't think, for me, there's not enough depth to your kingdom management and building to keep me interested enough to want to take over most of the map. When you set up the game, you can change how many counties you need to take to win. So I think the default's 125. The lowest you can set it to is to 50. I might be able to play through a game to take 50 provinces, but it's just a bit tedious managing everything. So now let's end our turn. We'll see the AI carrying out their turns. But we very quickly see all of the different menus we have to go to just to check if we need to do anything with our fields. And then if you wanted to be really efficient, you would have to go into every single county, hire the available men that turn, because you don't want to lose them. You would have to move an army through all your counties, picking up those men that are in the patrols in those counties. It's just a bit, it's a slow game. I can see the appeal. Back in 1993, somebody who really liked the idea of a sort of a big grand campaign map. But I think you probably had better options in 1993. There were more interesting games out there, and considering that Lords of the Realm 1 was less than a year away by the time this was released, I can see why it got averaging reviews. It looks nice. It's a nice idea. There's just not enough to it for me. Anyway, that is Vikings Fields of Conquest. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.